Hi, this is Louisa and I'm going to do a short session with you, mainly in relaxation position, laying semi-supine, as well as a little bit of seated work. If you have a foam roller, that will be perfect. If you don't, it doesn't matter. You could perhaps just use a pillow or a cushion or a bolster instead. So we'll get started. Heading down to the mat, I'm going to have the roller just behind my knees, or your bolster or cushion, and just come down towards the mat. So you may need your head support. And initially I'm going to just drape my knees over the roller and shimmy up to make sure that you can see most of me. So here I'm not necessarily parallel, I just kind of want you to feel comfortable and open across the hips. So it may be that the legs are opening out to the side, just want you to let them flop or drape over the roller or your pillow. Now you just have hands on your hips, try to level out the pelvis, check you've got the same distance rib to hip on both sides, and we just focus on your breath for a moment. So you can take the wide breath in through your nose, fill up the back and sides of your lungs, and a long breath out through your mouth. Just your wide Pilates lateral breathing, and just a little bit of connection through your centre as you exhale. So once you've taken a few breaths and just settled down onto the mat, we're just going to begin to do a really tiny pelvic tilt. So as you breathe out, tiny bit of centre, you can just start to curl the tailbone up a little bit, and then you can release back to neutral. So if you've got your roller, it's going to just roll with you very slightly, okay? Still kind of stay as open as you can around the front of the hips, and just checking that you're staying neutral and aligned as possible. Okay, let's do one or two more of those. And then when you settle back down to neutral, I'm going to bring the hands behind the head. So if you have osteoporosis, please leave this curl up section out. So I'm going to just have the hands behind the head, elbows, shoulders soft, and maybe just try and shimmy yourself up the mat a little bit to give yourself a little bit more length there. And from here, I've still got this openness across the hips. If this is uncomfortable for you, you could always just bring your feet back to your normal relaxation position with the feet just on the floor. Otherwise, we'll carry on here. You can inhale, chin tuck, and then exhale, gliding up to your curl up position. While you're here, just double check your alignment again. Hips, legs, perhaps a bit more towards parallel now. Breath there, and then lengthening and releasing back down. So inhale, chin tuck, exhale, begin to glide up. So while you're there, just checking your alignment. Inhale, chin tuck, exhale, glide, and then releasing back down. And then I'm going to keep one hand behind my head, other hand I'm going to just bring on my waist, so between my lowest rib and my hip bone. And we're going to just do two curl ups here, but just feel what's happening for your oblique muscles. So you inhale, chin tuck, exhale, gliding up. So hopefully you feel that drawing down, cinching in, good breath to stay, check alignment, and then lengthening as you release back down. One more this side, so inhale, chin tuck, exhale, breath, and then lower down. And I'm going to try a couple of those on the other side. Might be interesting to compare how one side feels to the other. So the hands on the waist between the lowest rib and your hip bone. Inhale, chin tuck, and then exhale, gliding up, breath, and then lengthening and releasing back down. Just notice if perhaps one side feels a little stronger than the other. And then once you've done those, you're going to bring both hands back behind the head and just do two oblique curls to each side. So I'll still come up to my central curl up, keeping the hips level. So I'm going to take a breath here as I breathe out, just adding my thoracic rotation and that oblique curl. I'm going to come back through to centre. Next exhale, over to the other side. So still working on your obliques, and you can lower back down. Try and go the other way first if you can. So I'll inhale, chin tuck, exhale, glide up, and then adding that rotation back through to centre, keeping the hips as level as you can, and then over to the other side. And then I'm going to release down from there. You could do more repetitions if you wanted to. I just want to give you a little taster of that. So from here, I'm going to come into relaxation position. You could have your feet on the floor, or if you've got your roller, you could use your feet on the roller. Try not to let the heels drop down. Just want the weight pressing downwards rather than flexing the feet. We're going to begin to lift up your tailbone, so you may not want too much head support here. So I'm going to just engage my centre and hover my bottom up away from the mat. So only about maybe 1 or 2 hands distance away from the mat. So we're going to just try and keep this little hover and then repeat the little pelvic tilt work you did. Let's just do perhaps 3 or 4. It might be tough for the hamstrings to maintain your lift in this position. See how you go, and you could always bring the feet back to firm ground if you need to. Okay, so after a few, back to neutral, then just floating back down. And then we're going to begin to come up to your full bridge and then spine curl down. So keep your feet on the roller if you want, bring your feet to the floor if you prefer. Okay, so breath and centre, and just floating up to that bridge position. So using the glutes, opening up the hips, make sure you're not squashing your neck or your throat. Breath in here, and as you breathe out, just softening, peeling and releasing all the way back down. Okay, I'm going to do 4 more. So you can bridge up as you exhale, breath to stay, and as you breathe out, softening, peeling and releasing back down. You may well be aware of your hamstrings. I promise we're going to just stretch them out a little bit in a moment. Couple more. So bridge up in one piece, and then peeling, softening and releasing back down. Last one. And then once you've landed, you may prefer to bring your head cushion back. I'm going to do the climb a tree prep hamstring stretch. If you come to class, I'm sure you're familiar with the version where you could just do your band stretch and hold if you prefer. So otherwise, knee fold, knee in line with the hip. I'm going to bring the hands around the back of the middle of the thigh. Your other leg could stay bent on the floor or the roller if it's comfortable. Slide it away. So we're just inhale, hug it in. Try to stay neutral, lengthen both sides of the waist, and exhale, lengthen it away. Parallel, you can maybe flex the foot as well. Just 4 or 5. Inhale, hugging in. Exhale, pressing away. Maybe flex. And there we go. If it's hard to reach and stay neutral, you could always just use a band or scarf around the thigh just to extend the arms a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to swap sides now. Just double check our alignment. Second leg can float up, knee in line with the hip, hands behind the back and the middle of the thigh. Inhale, hugging in, exhale, extend, and maybe flex. So we're not holding this one for too long. We're keeping it moving, keeping neutral, and making sure that leg stays as parallel as possible. And once you've evened up 5-ish on both sides, we're going to lower it down. You may want to just slide both legs away. If you haven't got your roller, just perhaps prop your feet up on a cushion or something. My legs are hip width, and just in this position with the legs propped up, it should feel really nice just to do a few ankle circles in each direction. So just enjoy a few of those. And then once you've finished, I'm going to glide back in, and I'm going to come up to seated. So we're going to roll onto our side to come up to a seated position. If you can, sit cross-legged. Okay, if that's tricky, you could sit in long frog or any other position that suits you. So from here, finding those sit bones, I'm going to just use my roller in front of me, or if you've got a ball, great. If you haven't, just have your fingertips on the floor. So I want you to sit up really tall. We're going to keep the spine neutral, and as you breathe out and centre, I'm just hinging forward, keeping that neutral shape, and then we'll lengthen back up again. So you may want to stay with neutral, especially if you have osteoporosis or your back isn't feeling at its best. Some of you may prefer to round forward. So I'm going to inhale, lengthen up and chin tuck, keep my tummy engaged, and then just begin to glide down as you exhale. Breath there, and then we'll glide back up again. I'm going to do 1 more of those. And then if you are in a seated cross-legged position like this, try and swap the legs around if you can. And you still find that length through the spine. We'll just do a couple, keeping neutral, so keeping that length, inhale, length, then exhale, just that little hinge forward, gliding the hands on the roller or the ball or the floor, breath, and then return. Or some of you may be okay to start to just round forward, but keeping that support through your centre. Take a breath when you get there, and then we'll unravel and stack back up again. Just 1 more. and then smacking back up from there. Okay, the next bit we're going to work on is to roll out the front of the legs. I just want to make sure you can see me okay, hopefully. So it helps to have the roller for this. If you don't have a foam roller, even like a rolling pin at home, might do the job as well, otherwise a ball. So make sure you've got enough space behind you in case you add on in a moment. So just nudge my cushion out of the way. If you can, try to stretch your legs out long, but if it's not possible to keep your spine neutral, you may need to keep the knees slightly soft, and that's okay. Okay, so it depends. The legs are hip width or a little bit closer together to see how it feels for you. And I've just got the roller on my shins. If you don't have a roller, you could use a ball or you could glide your fingertips down, but it's kind of nice to use this for a little bit of massage. So sitting tall again as you inhale, and then exhale, just try with that neutral hinge, just to hinge forward from the hips and then roll the roller or the ball or the hands down a little bit. So if you've got the roller, you may be able to nudge it a little bit further down, breath to stay, and then gliding back up again. So stay neutral if you need to. Some of you may be able to just lengthen up and round forward, and you'll perhaps get a little bit further and maybe be able to nudge that roller forward over towards the front of your foot, and you get a stretch there. Breath, keep your centre engaged, and you can begin to glide back up again. So it may be better to stay with that for some of you. Certainly with any low back pain or osteoporosis, I would stay neutral and not force yourself to go too far. If everything else is good, you can start to take it back into a roll back. So I'm going to sit tall, start to round into that C shape, and then picking up the roller if you've got it, and peeling your spine back down to the mat, and then you could lower, taking the arms back to your ribcage closure position, and then I'm going to inhale, let the arms float up, chin tuck, reach up and over, tummy engaged, keeping that length, let that roller touch down, and then I'm going to roll forward again. So just pick which section works for you, or maybe you're able to string both of those together. So I'm coming into that C shape, picking up the roller, and then lowering back. Careful that you don't let the ribs flare, keep that centre engaged. Inhale, arms and chin tuck, reaching up and over, touching down with that roller. You can pass up through neutral and then rounding forward. Okay, let's do one more of those with you. And then we're gliding back up again. And then once you come up to seated, wardrobe adjustment if you need to. If you have your roller, I'm going to have it just under the feet again. If you don't have your roller, it would be good to just prop the feet up a little bit on a few cushions or a block or something like that, or a small stool. So the legs are hip width. I've just got my feet dangled over the edge of the roller. So I'm going to come back down to the mat. Initially, you may want your head support, okay? So a few options here. A slightly easier option or gentler option would be to have the legs bent, and again, feet could be on the floor if not on the roller, and you could work on your single knee fold to each side, keeping an eye on your alignment and that connection to your centre. If it feels okay to have your back in this position when the legs are lengthened and the hips are a bit more open, you may want to try this leg lift from the floor, but it's a lot more load for your back, so listen to your body. I'm going to have hands on the hips, make sure I'm as well aligned as possible. I'm going to take a breath in, so you breathe out and centre. I'm going to start to hover one leg up, so just to the range where you get perhaps towards your hamstring stretch, and I'm going to slowly lower it back down again. And have in your mind the 100 breath pattern, that in for 5 and out for 5. So we're going to take a breath in, breathe out, centre, and then up, 2, 3, 4, 5, and down, 2, 3, 4, 5. Your range may be different to mine, and that's absolutely fine. So up, 2, 3, 4, 5, and down, 2, 3, 4, 5, up, 2, 3, 4, 5, and down, 2, 3, 4, 5. As I mentioned, if you need to do a bent leg knee fold version instead, that's fine. And I'm going to bring the arms down by your side. and I'm going to float them back to my ribcage closure position. If you need to turn the palms in to suit your shoulders, that's fine, but just make sure you're not arching or flaring. Again, bring the legs back into relaxation position if you need to. So same pace of that breath in for 5, out for 5. Think of your ribcage closure movement now, but one arm at a time. I'm going to breathe in. As you breathe out and centre, I'm going to lower one arm down towards the mat, and then it can slowly return back up again. So the next time I exhale, I'm going to press down, 2, 3, 4, 5, and back, 2, 3, 4, 5, down, 2, 3, 4, 5, and back, 2, 3, 4, 5, down, 2, 3, 4, 5, and back, 2, 3, 4, 5. Have a little rest if you need to. If both of those parts and sections of the exercises feel okay, you can combine them. So one option would be you're in your relaxation position, float back to ribcage closure, and then as one leg comes up into knee fold, the opposite arm presses down. So you take your breath in, breathe out, centre, leg floats up, arm presses down, and then you slowly return. So just keeping that control and stability through your centre. So that's the slightly easier option with less load for the low back. If it was okay to have the legs lengthened, you come back to your ribcage closure, strong connection to your centre. As I breathe out centre, one leg lifts as the opposite arm presses down, and then I'm slowly lowering back to return. Then other side. So you could keep with the head down. You could still have that 100 pace in your mind. Or some of you may want to add your curl up to that. So I'm going to inhale, chin tuck, exhale, glide into my curl up position. One hand will stay behind the head. So I'm going to reach by one arm down, opposite leg up, and then slowly lower it down, keeping that control for the centre, swapping hands, other leg, opposite arm, keeping that control for my centre, and then switching over. I'll just finish off here. Lovely. And then I can come back down to land. I'm going to glide back into relaxation position. Just get rid of roller or cushion or anything you might have been using. And I'll just do a few options of your hip rolls to finish off our section in relaxation position. So just shimmying down the mat a little bit. So you have your head support back. First option, keep the legs and feet glued. Arms in your low V shape, palms up. Some of you might be able to take the arms a little wider as long as it doesn't compromise your spinal position. So if it forces you to flare, keep the arms in that narrower position, but definitely palms up. So take a breath in as you breathe out centre, pelvis and legs one way, neck and head the other, breath into there, and then we're gliding back again. Okay, so breath and centre, gliding over, breath here, and then spiralling back again. So that might be enough, and you can stay here. Next option to add on, so I'm going to let the pelvis and legs go to the right, and then my left leg will extend. My head can go to the left, breath there, and I've got to work a little bit harder to bring everything back with control. So breath and centre, pelvis and legs to the left, and my right leg can extend, keeping the thighs glued, and then spiralling back. So just be careful with that extra load that it doesn't force you to leave your pull your shoulder blades away from the mat, so you're still keeping that control. Okay. That might be enough. Some of you may want to come up to single knee fold, double knee fold, glue the legs and feet together. Stronger work through your tummy. You may need a little bit of extra head support, and you could do your hip roll in double knee fold position. Okay. If you're doing double knee fold position, much smaller range but a lot more control. If you wanted to add on, you could hip roll over to one side and maybe extend both legs, spiral back to the centre and bend. So exhale over to one side, inhale, extend, exhale back, inhale, bend. So it's much more load, a small but very controlled movement. Revert back to one of the other stages if you prefer. So with this one, you can keep your head centred, or you may still want to let your head turn the opposite way. Okay, I'm going to come back to the centre, lowering the legs one at a time. I'm going to just do a couple of easy hip rolls with my feet back towards the ground, and then once you've finished, You may want to take a full body stretch, lengthen the arms up and over, take a few breaths into there. And then once you're ready, we're going to just roll onto your side and pause. Okay, so we're going to leave it at that for the time being for this short section. I hope you found it useful and you've enjoyed it. And if you have, please do like and subscribe, and hopefully see you soon. Thanks very much. Bye bye.